The movie opens with a man named Stiles, sentenced to death for a murder he insists he didn't commit. An honest, religious, and honorable soldier, Stiles faces his fate with dignity as he prepares for the lethal injection. Just before the procedure, a priest offers to help him confess his sins, but Stiles firmly asserts his innocence, declaring, "I did not commit any murder." As the injection takes effect, a doctor checks his vitals and confirms his death. Miraculously, Stiles awakens moments later, bewildered and questioning why he is still alive, setting the stage for a gripping tale of justice and redemption. They decide to keep Stiles alive, presenting him with an unexpected choice. As a former military man, he can either submit to a mysterious medical experiment or face the lethal injection immediately. With no viable options, Sergeant Stiles reluctantly agrees to the experiment, unsure of what lies ahead. Soon, a doctor named Crystal arrives to examine him, her hands trembling with doubt as she grapples with the fact that he's accused of murder. Sensing her apprehension, Stiles calmly assures her, "I am not a murderer," setting in motion a tense exploration of truth and redemption. Stiles insists to Dr. Crystal that he is innocent of the crimes he's accused of, but she remains skeptical, having witnessed the trial unfold on TV. "You killed 11 innocent people," she retorts, her voice filled with disbelief. He counters passionately, explaining, "I only killed when on duty, under orders from my superiors. They've framed me. This is all a political setup." He pleads with her to stop fearing him, but she shakes her head, resolute in her conviction, and tells him that it will take much more than his words to change her mind. Stiles realizes that whether or not Dr. Crystal believes him, at least her hands will stop shaking in response to his pleas for understanding. Ignoring his comment, she begins taking samples of his hair, blood, and skin. When he inquires about the nature of the medical experiments, she sidesteps his question, admitting she lacks the details herself, before leaving the room with a vague promise for him to rest. Meanwhile, Dr. Crystal receives orders regarding the experiment, her shock palpable as she learns the unsettling details about the man she's been tasked to help. As Dr. Crystal delves deeper into the experiment, she's stunned when shown an alien sample. Realizing the gravity of her task, to make Sergeant Stiles' DNA compatible with the aliens, essentially transforming him into something otherworldly to assess its potential danger. The secrecy of the project hangs heavily in the air, and while she acknowledges that transformation is possible, she warns that they cannot guarantee he'll survive the excruciating process. Later, a general visits Stiles, and tension mounts as they engage in a heated argument. Stiles stands firm, insisting that as a soldier, he never blindly followed orders, challenging the authority of those who seek to manipulate him now. Stiles confronts his higher-ups, expressing his belief that their decision was unjust, which he realizes is the root of his punishment. Dr. Crystal, eavesdropping on their conversation, becomes increasingly aware of Stiles' innocence regarding the murders. When the general and the doctor finally divulge the details of the experiment, Stiles is taken aback, never anticipating they would resort to such extreme measures. Once someone he trusted, he feels betrayed, telling the general that he thought they were on the same side. The general, overwhelmed with guilt and pity for Stiles, fights back tears as he listens to the soldier's painful revelations, caught between duty and conscience. As the general says goodbye to Stiles and exits the room, Dr. Crystal prepares to inject him, the gravity of her task weighing heavily on her. Holding a Bible close to his chest, Stiles offers forgiveness, surprising her with his grace despite the impending transformation. With little hesitation, she administers the injection without mercy. Moments later, Stiles jolts awake, racked with excruciating pain, and he vomits as the doctors rush in, quickly injecting him again. Overwhelmed by agony, he feels his face breaking out and teeth loosening, yet he clings to a mantra, repeating to himself, "They can't take my soul," as he fights through the torment. Despite the pain and torment, Stiles repeats to himself, "They can change your body, but they can't change your soul." Meanwhile, Dr. Crystal arrives to conduct more tests, and he pleads with her not to inject him again. She assures him she won't, but he desperately asks for dignity as a human being and requests some clothes. Once again, he confesses his innocence, reiterating that he didn't commit the murder. When he shows her his hands, Dr. Crystal gasps in shock as she notices the horns starting to grow. In the following days, Stiles undergoes drastic changes, both in appearance and temperament, becoming increasingly aggressive as the transformation takes its toll. Stiles, in a desperate plea, repeatedly insists to Dr. Crystal that he didn't commit the murder, his anguish palpable. Each confession seems to resonate with the rapid changes in his mind, fueled by the unbearable pain he's enduring. As he shouts his innocence, the strain becomes too much, and he collapses to the ground unconscious. Panic ensues among the doctors as they attempt to revive him with electric shocks, but their efforts fail, and they are unable to restore his pulse. Dr. Crystal, overwhelmed with shock and remorse, stares at Stiles' lifeless body, tears welling in her eyes as she whispers an apology for putting him through such torment. To everyone's astonishment, Stiles suddenly regains consciousness, leaving Dr. Crystal in a state of amazement as she realizes that his heart has changed position and is now pulsing steadily. Concerned, she asks him if he feels any pain, and he replies that he no longer experiences the torment he once did. The doctors and the generals look on in disbelief, marveling at the fact that he seems to have developed a new heart altogether. In the next sequence, Dr. Crystal explains Stiles' extraordinary abilities to the man overseeing the experiment, revealing that he now possesses 3 times the capacity to adapt to new stimuli, hinting at the incredible potential and peril of his transformation. Stiles' transformation is nothing short of remarkable. He now possesses abilities far beyond those of ordinary humans, boasting 5 times their strength and the uncanny ability to hear conversations from a distance. Having completed his metamorphosis, he seizes the opportunity to escape the confines of the room where he was held. Dr. Crystal, stunned by his sudden disappearance, soon learns that the generals orchestrated his escape deliberately, intending to hunt him down and eliminate him as part of their twisted experiment to test their capabilities against the aliens. Furious, Dr. Crystal confronts the generals, her anger boiling over at their cold-hearted manipulation and disregard for Stiles' humanity. Furious at the generals for subjecting her to this harrowing process only to dispose of Stiles, Dr. Crystal watches helplessly as they initiate their search the moment he escapes from his cage. Meanwhile, Stiles bolts into the woods, where he catches a glimpse of his reflection in a river. Steeling himself, he repeats, "They can change your body, but they cannot change your soul." As the military forces close in on him, Stiles manages to kidnap one of the soldiers, seizing his radio to communicate directly with the general. In a calm but defiant voice, he declares that he will not kill anyone and reveals that he knows the escape was a setup. The generals, taken aback, are left in shock at Stiles' unexpected maneuver and resilience. Upon hearing the shocking news, Stiles decides to leave the soldier he kidnapped behind, quietly slipping away from the scene. However, tragedy strikes when the other soldiers mistakenly kill the man, believing he was Stiles. Filled with sorrow at this senseless act, Dr. Crystal voices her concerns, arguing that their violent actions will reveal nothing about Stiles and will only show how he might react to such situations. While the general acknowledges her perspective, he remains undeterred, convinced that he can capture Stiles himself. With determination in his eyes, the general sets off on a solitary mission to hunt down the transformed soldier, unaware of the consequences that await him. As the other soldiers search for Stiles, they are unsettled by strange noises that seem to disturb the very fabric of their minds. In a tense turn of events, Stiles ambushes the general from behind, gripping him tightly. With a commanding presence, he demands that the general inform the other soldiers of his true identity. Terrified, the general complies, urgently declaring to his men, "This alien is Sergeant Stiles, and he didn't murder anyone." He goes on to explain that Stiles was framed by the military, revealing the shocking truth that could change everything. The soldiers, caught off guard by this revelation, grapple with the implications of what they've been led to believe. In a sudden burst of energy, Stiles explodes, vanishing from the area without causing harm to anyone. The next sequence reveals Dr. Crystal in her tent, startled when Stiles suddenly approaches her. She gasps, nearly crying out, but he swiftly covers her mouth to keep his presence a secret. Struggling to gather her thoughts, she admits she has no idea what they plan to do to him and begins to apologize profusely. Stiles, maintaining a calm demeanor, assures her, "I believe you," and then questions, "Do you think I'm a murderer?" Dr. Crystal, her voice trembling, responds that she knows he isn't, affirming the trust that is beginning to form between them amid the chaos. Stiles feels a wave of relief wash over him as Dr. Crystal confirms that she believes he didn't commit the murder and that he is a good person. It's a comforting realization for him, knowing at least one person sees the truth amidst the chaos. He expresses his gratitude, telling her that he wished he had heard this sooner before he leaves the place. Just as he's about to walk away, Dr. Crystal rushes after him, insisting that she can attempt to reverse his transformation back to a human. Initially resistant to the idea, Stiles argues that it seems impossible and confesses that he doesn't want to revert to his former self. However, her determination and hope begin to sway him, igniting a flicker of curiosity within him. Dr. Crystal tries to convince Stiles that she might be able to make the human gene dominant again by inhibiting the alien DNA that currently overshadows it. She promises him that she will give it her best effort, but candidly admits she can't guarantee success. After a moment of contemplation, Stiles agrees and specifies a place and time to meet the following day so she can administer the injection that could restore his humanity, insisting that she come alone. With a reassuring nod, she promises she will. The next day, as Stiles waits for Dr. Crystal, he grips a gun tightly in his hand, wary of potential threats lurking nearby, his heart pounding with anxiety and hope for what's to come. Wary of potential danger, Stiles asks Dr. Crystal if she brought the injection, to which she replies affirmatively. As she rummages through her bag to retrieve it, Stiles notices her hand trembling as she prepares to inject him. Concerned, he asks why she is shaking despite knowing he is innocent. In that moment, he realizes she has come with a contingent of soldiers, a wave of dread washing over him. He steadies himself and asks a crucial question: will this injection truly reverse me back to being human? Dr. Crystal hesitates before revealing that the injection she holds isn't guaranteed to restore his humanity, leaving Stiles grappling with uncertainty and fear about what lies ahead. As Dr. Crystal prepares to inject Stiles, he suddenly realizes that what she intends to give him is a sedative that could kill him. Pleading with him not to harm her, she insists that she only wanted to help, but Stiles firmly assures her, "I will never harm you." He lets her go safely, but when she tries to apologize, he cuts her off, declaring that one betrayal is enough. The general, frustrated and desperate, steps forward, stating that everything is over and that they have failed. Stiles, his voice rising with conviction, shouts back, "I haven't failed. I've succeeded because I have my pure soul." The generals, taken aback by his unwavering courage and strength, prepare to shoot him, determined to eliminate the threat he poses once and for all. Stiles stands resolute, not fighting back but instead raising his hands, ready to be shot. Just as the soldiers prepare to pull the trigger, a bizarre, high-pitched sound disrupts their minds, rendering them unable to withstand its intensity. One by one, the soldiers and the general collapse to the ground, overwhelmed by the noise. Suddenly, several aliens materialize out of nowhere, each resembling Stiles, leaving everyone in shock. One of the aliens steps forward, approaching Stiles with friendly eyes, and places a reassuring hand on his shoulder. In an instant, they both disappear, leaving behind a stunned silence and a lingering sense of wonder about the extraordinary events that just unfolded. In the end, all the aliens vanish in the blink of an eye, leaving the generals celebrating their perceived victory. However, Dr. Crystal stands apart, her heart heavy with realization. She understands that they have failed the test set by the aliens, who orchestrated the entire encounter to gauge humanity's true nature. It becomes clear that the aliens discovered humans are not inherently good, a conclusion that weighs heavily on her conscience. As frustration mounts, we see Dr. Crystal and the generals grappling with their failure, their anger palpable as they confront the grim truth of the situation they find themselves in.